work. But I think there has to be a meeting. I believe there has to be a connectedness here. And it's already begun. It's begun with folks finding their DNA and going back and finding their villages. I think there has to be that connection. The disconnect, I think, is injurious to us, very injurious to us, particularly to our children, to our progeny.
In the talks that you had in the villages and whatnot, what is the level of understanding that our African brothers and sisters have of the reality of the hood here in the United States?
Well,
and
they
all
get,
the things
they get the transported images from America to them. I don't know that they buy in as completely. People don't seem to be as immersed in the commercialism and the materialism. They don't seem to be as immersed in that. So I don't know that they buy into that very much. As it relates to a pervasive level, I can't know. But generally speaking, when I spoke to people, when I told them where I was from, there was some clarity, there was a welcome, there wasn't a sense of strangeness, but intermingled in there is Americanness, which with all of that stuff. And so there's always been a desire to be like the Americans, you see, and that's permeating the world. But I think in terms of Africans in general, that they're very, very proud of being African. They're very, very proud of their culture and of their systems. So there's no real desire to become like Americans, not on a broader level. But there is a desire to bring us together.
Okay, got to take another break.
Goodness.
We'll be back. This is our last segment. We'll have to continue this, but I just want to ask you a little bit about this residue that we have within us on this side of the Atlantic, post-traumatic slave syndrome, which affects the way we behave, and we don't even know why we misbehave sometimes toward each other and elsewhere. And I was wondering if that has really victimize the African as well. Do they have a post-traumatic slave syndrome, having lost?
Not from what I could experience, from what I could see. Not that looked anything like what my work.
Which is why you're going back.
That's right. I'm glad, because I wasn't going there to try to find that. I wanted to find the health.
Okay.
I went there to find the health.
Okay, you told me that you went into a bank and something happened.
Yes, I often tell a story, and people are familiar with this story because of my work, of the way African Americans will behave in a bank, to the extent that, when they're small children, our parents and our family members, going as far back as we can remember here in this country, keep that child right next to you. Child, don't move. Don't you get, the death stare, stay in line. So I decided, I went to a bank, and I was in that bank to observe, principally. I took a day off and just literally and went to several banks. And I really wanted to observe this bank culture, like just to have a contrast. So I wanted to see parents, how small children interacted, and how they engaged in the environment. Well, number one, everybody's black. That's number one. Everybody's black. Guard is black, teller is, president is black. Everybody's black, right? So that's the one difference that you see. Everybody in the line, everybody there is black. So this gentleman comes in, he goes to the teller, he has a child with him, and I'm going to say probably around 2, maximum maybe 2.5, little bitty one, right, holding his little book in the line. Dad goes to the teller. So what I'm looking for, and there are also some other children in the bank that are just kind of playing around and interacting and stuff. And everybody's just really laid back, guard, laid back. I wanted to take pictures, but you can't take pictures in the bank where I was getting ready to get arrested. So I was like, okay, so I have to observe, take notes. So I'm watching this man, and I'm timing him. I'm waiting to see when the man at the counter, the teller, with the teller, is going to turn to look to see where the child is. Just check. Do the little cursory look around. And I'm just waiting. So he's there for about 10 minutes, because he's got papers to sign and stuff. Right. The little boy's walking around, smiling, kind of floating about. Right? And I'm talking to him, because man's in the line. And I'm waiting to see him turn to look for that child. Now this, you're not going to believe. When he's finished with the teller, he takes his paperwork. I'm watching him. He puts the paperwork, together. sticks it under his arm, and walks towards the door, having never looked at the child. And when he got to the door, he put his hand out, and the little boy came and grabbed his hand. He never looked at him. Never once. Because I watched him the whole time. He knew he would be there. There was no need to watch him. And there was no one else that was concerned about it. I was the only one really looking at where this child was going and what he was doing. No one else was. And when he got to the door, he opened the door, didn't look for him, just put his hand out. And the little boy ran up and grabbed his hand. He walked out the door. Amazing. Similarly, I was in the airport. Now, you know, it's not a huge airport, but our group was sitting in one little section. Once again, pre-verbal. This was a pre-verbal child. Child couldn't talk. Just new toddler. Walks over. And, of course, me, normal, you know, I'm looking to see. I'm sure that, you know, toddlers always float around and the parents are going, come, you know, look for them. Nobody's looking for the child. So I started looking for the parents because I'm concerned. And way down the way, behind a pillar on the other side of the room, is a mother who basically leans back, peeks, and then just and didn't move. Never moved. And I'm like, she never got up to get the child. He eventually went back over there. But she never once, she leaned back to see, oh, there's a group of people over there. The child's going to be fine.
My, that's a cultural atmosphere.
It's a peacefulness. There's a gentleness. That doesn't suggest you don't have the regular mayhem and nuts. But what I'm saying is that so much, look at it, hypertension, diabetes, you know, heart disease, obesity. You look at some of the things that are plaguing us, the stressors that are constantly in our lives. Just those, because it's not an issue of poverty, because there's poverty. But there's not those stressors or the feeling of being less than. No one's holding their head down. People, regardless of whether they have shoes on or not, walk with their heads high. Do you see what I'm saying? So there's not that oppressive yoke of inferiority.
But is there no seething rage that you can perceive in totally colonized cities, you know, where the economy and everything is in control of outsiders, strangers who are not burnt of skin?
There's verbal resentment where people, if you talk to folks, they're very clear about what they don't like about, you know, in terms of colonization. That's very clear. But it's not that palpable, the kind of self-destructive rage. There is that righteous indignation that says this is wrong and this needs to be corrected and we're not okay with it. I think the internalization within this country of the rage, of the anger, of the feelings of inferiority or the feelings of injustice are so dangerous to us, detrimental to us both physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. There's just not that palpable feeling that I think is so capable of disintegrating the person, and that has to be that is one of the areas of healing in terms of how you deal with stress, how you deal with conflict, that I think we can learn a lot from.
Speaking of healing, there's not enough time to do it in this program, so we're going to have to. We're out of time. I understand that, but I want you to assure me that you're willing to stay.
Absolutely.
And do an additional segment.
Of course.
And we'll be back next week to continue this nutritious conversation.